exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. Happy Friday, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to the Dangerous Liberty Podcast, where we know the only thing more dangerous than liberty is the lack thereof. Summer, how was your week?
That was good.
How's everybody doing out there? We did have a good week. We've been busy all week. We had a big training event Tuesday and Wednesday with a corporate client. That was a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff out there. I want to say hello to everybody. First of all, I want to go ahead and discipline Chris Rouse and Jason for being selfish and wanting to spend time with their family on Friday as opposed to come, do their duty here on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. For those of you tuning in, thanks for coming out live. And for those of you that are watching this after it posts, make sure you're joining us live. This is a special Friday episode, but we normally are live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you guys tune in so you can be part of the conversation. You get to talk, you get to ask questions, we read your comments, all the good stuff.
I guess we're good enough for Chris and Jason's Wednesday night, but not a Friday night date.
Yeah, we're not.
We're a weeknight date.
We're only weekday friends.
Not the weekend people.
I want to say hi to everybody. What's going on? Mike Hinn, Chris Rouse, buddy, Daryl Kramer, Alaska Andy, Greg. Who else we got up here? Jason's sponsor, Edward Hall, UFOs. Who else we got? TC. What's going on, TC? I saw you commenting on some of the videos earlier, so it's good to have you. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm probably not going to talk about the things that you guys think I'm going to, as far as I'm not going to rehash last night's debacle of a State of the Union address. I was
hoping for Cliff Notes.
It was absolutely disgusting. It was one of the most, not one of the most. It was absolutely the most divisive. I don't know. It was a diatribe of nonsense. I'm sure most of you guys, or at least some of you guys, watched. I know, just looking at some of the comments on some of the posts that I put out today. What I do want to talk about is the actual state of the United States. What's going on, Ted Boyette? Good to see you. Rob Bucher, good to see you guys. If you guys are watching right now, go ahead and say hello, and we'll make sure we recognize you. I want this to be a conversation, right? There's a lot of stuff to talk about here. To lay things out, this is something I've been thinking about, and really a theme that you guys have probably heard me kind of carry on over the last few months, because I do think this is the message going into this year.
The last couple of years, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But what I mean it too is that, America is not only in decline, folks. I mean, we are decaying. And I think if you really start looking at some of the things that are wrong with America, my biggest concern, well, let me put it out this way. We always talk about, and I hear people say to me all the time, well, Gary, there's history tells us the pendulum swings back and forth. That's what happens. And
it has in history.
And we've been kind of lulled into this idea that things are going to turn around. And look, man, I hope they will. But the other thing that history tells us is that empires fall. The United States has only been around for about 248 years. Looking at the way things are going, I'm just being honest with you. I do not see this country lasting for the next 50, or at least not anything that we would recognize it as. This country is extremely young, and we've been in decline in a long time. And I do think that is extremely intentional. I do not think that we have the fortitude. I do not think that we have the intelligent leaders. I do not think that we have the overall will to last another 50 years. Unless something very extremely drastic happens. And I don't see that happening. Now, we could end up having a civil war. We could end up having real war with another country that may, I don't know, maybe end up being a net positive for what we have. But I think what we have in place is we have political leaders. We have an entire corporate elite the major corporations that are running this country, I think when you start looking at what's going on and their intentions behind a lot of this stuff, I do think that we have, you know, political leaders that have sold this country out. I think we have many agencies and departments in our government that are entrenched with people that fundamentally hate everything that the U.S. stands for. And I think that's what we need to come to grips with, because, you know, I think we're on this plane that is in a nosedive, and we're like, oh, you know, the pendulum's just going to swing the other way. And I'm not exactly convinced that we can pull out of this nosedive. I think we're in real trouble, and I think people are starting to realize that. My only concern is that it's done too late. You know, just looking at some of the statistics, you know, we have China's GDP increase from roughly 400 billion in the early 1990s to over 18 trillion today. Looking at it that another way, during the 1990s, the value of Chinese GDP amounted to less than 10% of the U.S. GDP. The rate now in 2021, as of 2021, they have a 75% of the U.S. GDP that we have. U.S. debt is at 34.4 trillion. Folks, the U.S. dollar has declined in the last few years more than it ever has. The U.S. dollar, which is one of our greatest assets, both economically, militarily, and diplomatically, it means almost nothing to the rest of the world at this point. And if you haven't looked into BRICS, you need to look at the BRICS. There's a major movement to where they're trying to take the U.S. dollar off as the standard. And if that happens, folks, we are guaranteed to start moving the U.S. toward poverty. And, you know, I hate to sound so negative, but I think
you do.
yeah, you know,
I mean, as a mom sitting here, I'm like, oh my God.
I think
poor
think that we need to look at reality, or at least consider that there is a worst case scenario that is what's going on. And, you know, Mike, throw Mike's comment up there.
I agree with this to some degree too. And you see it in some areas of the country more than others. There's a couple of channels I watch on YouTube, and they travel all around the country and really interview a lot of local people in all different types of cities and towns and rural areas. And there's a lot more people that are willing to work as a community, even when their beliefs and political views are way different than the media would have you believe. From what I can see on these videos, and even personal experience, I mean, there's been some people that we are polar opposites with that we get along great with, you know?
Yeah, but what does that mean for what does that actually mean for the survival of the country? What does that actually mean for the progression of the country as continue to dominate as a world superpower, both economically and militarily?
I don't know what it means as far as a world superpower.
Well,
that's I mean, I just mean there's more community within the U.S.
You know,
and I think some of those people would pull together in a worst case scenario within the U.S. Now, on the world stage, I mean, that doesn't really do as much good. In any way that I can see. Well,
and that's what I'm saying is what we have. The way that I'm looking at things is that we have like this 10 to 15% that are, again, I think that there is a genuine 10 to 15% of Americans that are in extremely high positions that have a lot of influence, both politically, economically, that are intentionally steering us off the cliff.
You think the percentage is that high of people that intentionally want to destroy the country?
Well, when you look at extremes, right? When you talk about even like insurgent warfare, right? What we always talk about is the extremes. You have 10% of the extreme on one side, 10%. Get rid of that comment for me. 10% of the extreme on the other. So, you know, and then you got the other 90% or 80% in the middle that are persuadable. But what I'm saying, I think there is a 10% that they naturally go to government positions. They naturally are in.
Well, there's a difference
public education.
in naturally following that to some degree, in my opinion, and intentionally wanting to destroy the country.
Well,
there's a slight difference.
What I'm saying is that I think there are people that intentionally want to destroy the country that have picked that have strategically picked career paths. Some of them not. So that strategic, you know, they've picked career paths that are going to put them in power and influence. I mean, when we look at the U.S. government, you know, I think we all know at this point that the president's not in charge of anything. We literally have shadow government, or we have components within the government that completely undermine and oppose what our commander in chief is doing. And we saw that
In this case,
especially,
it might be
especially
a good thing.
in Trump. No, well,
I'm just saying.
I mean, these are socialists, right? These are Democrats.
Sure.
These are people that even you could have a fairly conservative, fairly fair-minded person in charge of that particular agency, but you have all this stuff going on underneath them that they don't even know about.
Day-to-day operations, yeah.
And never mind if you put a Republican, you can have a Republican Congress, you can have a Republican president, and people that are trying to do good things. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of Republicans out there that that either wittingly or unwittingly are working toward the destruction of the U.S. too. And I think a lot of this is money. One of the things that I was thinking about, one of the things I think that would have the greatest impact, and I know this is one of those cliche things at this point, but making sure that we have congressional term limits. I think the fact that we don't have congressional term limits, 2 terms, really, I think 2 terms is more than enough. We don't need to have career politicians. We need to have people that are used to being in the private sector, get in there, do some good, do whatever they need to do, and then get out and they're forced to live in the real world again. When we have these congressmen and women that go in making under $200,000 a year that leave, with hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank.
Well, that was what I was about to say too. Like it makes no math sense that you can make 150 grand a year.
Yeah.
And somehow accumulate several $1 million of net worth.
I mean, by
the time you leave Congress,
the entire system is corrupt. Like I think that is probably the biggest, because then on top of that, you're getting these people that are funded by the George Soroses of the world and everybody else, that they have an agenda going in, and then they end up spending 30, 40 years in Congress implementing that agenda throughout and spreading that disease. They're bringing up other congressmen and women. They are working in politics. They are pushing easy, and that's the thing, is like this destructive ideology is easier to sell. We saw Biden last night talking about, we're going to debt forgiveness. We're going to free daycare, free healthcare, free this, free that, free that. That is easy to sell. But the problem is that we all know that it leads to absolute government control and absolute government dominance. And then you have people voting so that they can get a little bit more, so that they can stay. They're at the poverty line. The U.S. government has made them somewhat comfortable in poverty, so they feel like they've been helped out. And now it's like, this next congressman, they're going to give us.
And they also feel like they have to keep voting for that free stuff, because if the free stuff goes away, then they got to go do something else besides sit at home.
100%.
So they have to keep voting for the free stuff, and that's the plan all along.
And when we even look at corporate America, that obviously has a big influence on politics and is running a lot of this country. Most of these corporations conveniently have a major foothold and are active in China and other countries.
And they also can afford a lot of really big lobbyists.
That too, of course. But my point of that is that I think we have people that are hedging their bets, or they see the direction of America, they see the direction of China, and I think they are intentionally having corporations
risk mitigation,
and they are ready to jump ship.
Yeah.
When things get too bad, they're going to jump ship.
It's their backup plan.
I think, and it's good to be optimistic, but that's not the world that I come from. I don't sit there. I've never sat and planned a mission where I'm like, all right, guys, this is probably going to be really good. And the pendulum swings this way, the pendulum swings this way. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. No, what we're looking for and we are planning against is the absolute worst case scenario. And that's the only way that I know how to look at anything, right? And
the other thing you're not doing is you're not sitting there planning a mission saying, all right, guys, if we're losing, we're going to jump ship and get onto the other country's team.
Yeah.
Like that's basically what you're saying the corporations are doing.
No. The corporations are the insurgents. The corporations are the people that we're fighting. They're pretending to be our friend. They're the ones in the villages that, will come up and shake our hands and everything else and bring us goods and supplies, while at the same time
they're radio for a IED to go off.
While at the same time they're getting intel, they're getting in our patterns of life, and they are 100% entrenched in the enemy camp. So America needs to wake up, because I really, man, I don't think America's ever been in this position. I don't think that we've been so full of idiots in leadership and an influence and power. We've definitely never had a border that was completely open. We have 7, 8, 9, 10 million plus people coming across our border that have no affiliation with this country, no love for this country, no understanding of this country. We're being invaded. And you look at just every facet of American life that we love, that we cherish, that has made America strong, that has made America great, and it is being undermined and being destroyed piece by piece by piece. What is the Democrat platform? It is the destruction of the American family. It's the destruction of American values. It's the destruction of God and religion in the U.S.
And that ties into something I wanted to ask you, because I know I have my opinion on a small piece of what do you think opened the door? What do you think caused the decline in the country that opened the door to this type of socialism, the direction that we're heading, that allowed this intentional destroying of the country?
Well,
Because there's a weakness there that they're exploiting, and in my opinion, it's the complete lack of morals across the board in the country anymore.
Yeah,
in a general way across the population,
and that was by design, right? So we've had the communist movement in this country since the early 1900s, and the first thing they started doing was they started sowing discourse through the idea and playing minorities against the majority, right? That they're saying, hey, you're black, you're this color, and they started pulling people away and dividing this country in that manner. And then it went from that to slowly planting seeds of how America is evil. That hey, this country was founded on slavery. Hey, this country was founded on this. This country was founded on this. The reality is that we have more kids growing up that genuinely grow up thinking that America is fundamentally rotten to its core.
and there's always a system that's trying to keep you down.
That there's always a system trying to keep you down. There's such a hatred toward God and religion that the idea that the United States was founded on Judeo-Christian values, there's no doubt about that. It was never meant to be, a religious. It wasn't founded on religion, but it was these values that we now hold dear that created the United States. All men are created equal. That was a revolution in the 1700s. The idea that all men were created equal, which is a Judeo-Christian principle, that was never seen before. And that is what made America the first and the greatest nation on earth. The idea of individual liberty, that every person is sovereign, that is a Judeo-Christian belief system that has made this country great. And that's another thing that we've slowly been ripped apart. The idea that we've been moved toward collectivism. And for whatever reason, there's just something that the way that conservatives are built, and I don't even like to use that word. The way that people like us are built, the people that believe in God, the people that believe in individual liberty, we're not the get out there and protest type people. And so we've just, I don't know, hope for the best, and that our message, we're not even good at selling things, right? We're not good at marketing these ideas. And I guess for a long time, we always felt like we didn't need to, like just the best idea would win. And the best ideas do win, which is why they're trying to shut down free speech. That's why they're trying to shut down discourse and debate. That's why we're seeing what we're seeing, because we have the tools to win, and we've had them for a long time, but we haven't been using them. And I think on average, and this is not like Gary preparing for worst case scenario. This is me just really have been thinking about this for several months. I think whatever everybody thinks that the America is, I think it's a lot worse. I think the $34 trillion in debt that we have is going to affect us in a way in the very near future that is a lot worse than we think it is. I think the idea that the dollar is going to fail is going to affect us in a way that we don't realize at this moment. I do think that regardless of how bad it actually gets, we are worse off than I think that we realize. We are weaker to the world than I think we realize. Our military is the weakest it's ever been. Right now, our military has the least amount of troops since World War II. I want you to think about that. with more conflict than we've ever had. And by the way, most of those new recruits, the majority, just 5-10 years ago, we had by far the most experienced battle hardened forces on the face of the planet. And I think that most of that is no longer there. They're specifically targeting special operations. They have been since the Obama administration. That was one of the reasons I got out of the military. And they are reduced. They don't like anything special. They don't like anybody that says, hey, these guys are better than these people over here.
God
Like,
forbid.
these guys, we spent millions of dollars of training, and these PAC clerks over here, the freaking, S1 guys that all they do is admin work, we're not spending nearly as much money on them. That's not fair. Like, they should be, all these people are the same. So, I just, that's the state of our union, in my opinion. All right, I'll shut up for just a few minutes here and read some of these comments. What good comments do we have out here?
Hold on. Let's go back up a little bit. I can't scroll. We need full auto fingers over here, Jason.
Oh no, he'd be scrolling.
Mike was agreeing on the term limits.
Yeah, I mean that is one of that has been our Achilles heel. That is what has allowed some of these programs to advance that wouldn't advance in our normal terms.
This is a good point. These are fake AF socialists. Real socialists sign everything over the state, and they're not doing that here in the U.S. They preach to you that you should not have anything.
Technically, that's communism.
But they drive sports car and own $1 million mansions.
Yeah, the problem
like Taylor Swift with her
is
climate
we're not. You're absolutely right. Like UFOs, like we are not. The movement on the left is not true socialist, it's not true communism. Really what it is the politics of greed that has pushed this, right? All they know is that there are people that are doing better than me. And I've been told my whole life that, I'm super special. We've gotten rid of the idea of merit, right? And
everyone gets a trophy.
Everyone gets a trophy. It's not about how hard you work. Everybody deserves the same thing. And that's not how it works, right? That's not how reality works, not how the rest of the world works. That's just not how it works. But that's what they've been told. And it's all these things. And when you start sitting back and you looking at all these little pieces that are flying in that seem so unrelated, but when they come together, they fit into this perfect puzzle, you realize just how orchestrated all this stuff is. And I think it's coming together better than what even the people that have been intending for the fall of America.
And I think there are pockets of holdouts, like, and I know we live in one of the most, freedom-friendly states there is, but even, the Noah's Wrestling Club, they rewarded hard work and winning. They created a special thing that every kid who got a pin during a wrestling match. No, I'm saying, no, government doesn't, but I'm saying, you're speaking in general of U.S.
What I'm talking about are people that have power and influence. Okay. And when I'm talking about the multi-billion-dollar.
I'm just saying, not every American thinks that way, and there's still a lot of holdouts.
There's not. I think the majority. I think 70% of the country is either completely on our side or would wake up very quickly. I'm saying that's not enough because we don't. 70% of America doesn't hold the majority of money, power, and influence. Right? You have this concentrated pockets of money, power, and influence that are out of our hands, that are selling out this country, and we don't even realize it. These people are traitors to the United States.
Well, I think a lot of people realize that they just don't know what they can personally do about it. So what's the solution?
You know what? I don't know. I think realizing it's the first solution. I mean, that's the reality is I don't know. What I know is that we need to wake up and we need to realize and understand that we are in more trouble than we're willing to accept, right? And that's why there isn't more people out in the streets. That's why.
But our type of people would never be the ones out running around.
Oh, they will be eventually. I just don't know what that turning point is. They will, and that's the thing
when they're
too.
Starving to death and rooting for food.
It might be that. It might be something else completely. It may be. I think that here's the reality. Is if there was, for instance, a civil war or something like that, our side would win. There's just no doubt about
I
that.
mean, we have more guns than the other side for sure.
Number one, most of the people that think on some sort of spectrum within what we believe, right? You know, there's a little bit left, a little bit more right, but those are those people that would pick our side. I mean, again, I believe
Someone
it's
up
the
here
majority of
said,
the people.
"Hey, when shit hits the fan, I want to be on your team, Gary."
I'm taking applications.
You
Not
got to
everybody's going
bring
to make
something
it.
to the table, though. We don't take freeloaders.
There's going to be a selection process. There's no doubt about it. Here's an axe. I want you to remove 2 fingers. I want to see
I
the
don't know. I may not make
dedication.
selection. I make pretty babies, though.
We do. You gave me some good babies. You can stick around.
Yep.
I might need a couple more out of you, though.
On a lighter note, I could put on Summer's t-shirt like Gary and it would be just as tight, but we are not the same. You got on my t-shirt tonight, babe?
I do. This shirt
man.
actually I special ordered is extra medium. What else?
Leaders of communist countries have pretty lavish lives. Look at North Korea. Citizens are getting nothing while their dear leader lives like a billionaire.
Oh, I mean that's
That's part of the power and money grab.
yeah. Like again, communism is not about fairness. That's the sell. It's always a switch and bait. Communism, socialism, and any other despot idea is always a switch and bait. It's just to convince the people to give certain people power, and then next thing you know, once they have that power, they turn that power on the people. And that's what was so different about the U.S., right? We and that's why it's so important to maintain and defend the Second Amendment. You know, again, once we have an idea that it's the government that should have these special weapons, it's the government that should only have weapons, it's the government that should have power. These people are greater, bigger. I mean, again, we are a government of, for, and by the people, and that's what it's always meant to be. But there again,
Are we that anymore?
no, we're not. We're
Yeah.
not. And we haven't been for a long time. You know, we have a special government class. That's what we have in this country now. We have a government class that is afforded additional rights, that is afforded additional protections, that are afforded all these things. You are immune from prosecution. You have you know, and that's the other thing too when we talk about equal justice under the law. It's not a matter of, hey, if you broke a law, you are going to be equally prosecuted. That's what we're seeing with Trump and everything else. What they've always done is they've used discretion. They've withheld even investigations to their friends, their families, their cohorts. And I mean, we have so many laws in the books that if any agency wants to come after any one person, you're not going to leave unscathed. At the best case scenario, you're going to be destitute for the rest of your life because you spent every bit of money you had defending yourself, and there's no recourse beyond that. What else?
Jeff says, I think the U.S., we think we have ceased to exist with the Civil War.
I don't know if it goes back that far. I do think that. I do think that it was probably at least around and maybe earlier, you know, the time of Kennedy before a U.S. president ever had real power. And, you know, we'd probably have to figure out and define exactly what you mean there, Jeff. But I do think we live in this false reality. I you know, especially with 2020, you know, I want to know how far back the voter fraud and how has gone. I want to know how far back, and not just, you know, I think there's always been voter fraud, and I think what we saw with 2016 was they just weren't prepared for it. They absolutely believed that Hillary
was a joke and he would never win.
That nobody liked Trump. You know, all these morons sit in their own bubbles and they don't realize what's going on. And I think they thought that Trump had no chance, so they didn't have the voter fraud machine spun up, and that apparatus wasn't working because they didn't think they needed it in place. But, you know, I wonder, you know, just looking back, how many elections have been illegitimate? I do think that we have a government, you know, the people that are running things in the government, I think they are predetermined elections.
This is kind of a good point that Jeff followed up with his original Civil War comment. He says, once we learned that we had no right to leave the Union, freedom left the house. It's kind of,
I'll think about that.
it
is a good point.
Kind of switching things here, but this is one thing that makes me angry. And Marjorie Taylor Greene obviously heckled the president multiple times.
Yeah.
But then the minute a father who lost his son directly due to Biden's orders.
I saw something on that.
I know he was taken out by Capitol Police and then continued.
He was arrested.
I know, but he was at first taken out and then continued to do something, and then he was placed
Somebody
under
can
arrest.
research this, but I
Yeah.
believe that I saw something on that
I looked at the chart.
Congress, because they're for all intents and purposes, they are in session during the State of the Union. That it's not illegal. It's a lack of decorum if they're heckling the president during that.
I looked at what charge he was charged with. I forget. Anyway, it's still sad. Like, leave the freaking man alone.
Like, I'm okay with pulling him out.
Sure.
But the fact that he was actually arrested and hauled off to jail, I guess. I don't know 100%. I've seen a bunch of different reports. Well, I've seen reports that he was arrested. I don't know what that means. Does that mean he was actually taken and booked and sent to jail? I don't know. Was he, put in handcuffs and then released? I don't, and maybe given a ticket or something like that.
He was charged with a misdemeanor.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what that means.
Sure.
There's misdemeanors that, you can be let go on.
He was arrested for crowding, obstructing, and accommodating.
Yeah. In what?
Accommodating? Accommodating.
The lack of a comedy.
I don't
comedy.
know. Look, there. What is that? How do you say that?
Incommoding. Incommoding.
It's sitting on the toilet.
Incommodating. I'm going to work on that.
It says disrupting Congress and demonstrating in the congressional buildings is illegal, according to Capitol Police.
I mean, demonstrating.
But she was disrupting Congress as well.
Well, and we've had Democrats and Republicans do it in the past. Nobody's ever, I don't even know that an actual member of Congress has ever even been escorted out. I don't know if that's the case or not. But there again, I do know, again, they are disrupting Congress. They are part of Congress. Congress is in session during the State of the Union. So I do think that they have more freedoms within the rules of that and within the law than the average person out there. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that he was charged with anything. He should have been asked to leave. I'm fine with that, but that's pretty much par for the course. I don't know why anybody expected different, right? If it was during Trump, and I don't know, somebody can look back at a State of the Union and see. I'm pretty sure that Trump was interrupted. I know by other Congress folks during that on the Democrat side. I don't know if it was by any of their guests, but we all know. I feel pretty darn confident that if Trump was interrupted and heckled by a guest of the Democrats during one of his State of the Union, I can almost guarantee that person would not have been escorted out, and they definitely wouldn't have been jailed.
They would have been celebrated
or
in the media.
Charged with anything.
The other thing that made me really angry is that he couldn't even get Laken Riley's name right.
Well,
he called her Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley.
But it was funny that he referred to the guy who murdered her as an illegal.
Yeah. Yeah. Nancy Pelosi was real upset about that.
Yeah, there was a lot of Democrats that came out. They're like, "How dare he?" Of course, Ilhan Omar had a lot to say about it on Twitter.
Ilhan Omar.
Yeah, whatever.
You can't even get her name right.
I can't even get her name right. She deserves it.
You're pretty much Biden. I'm living with Biden.
Anyway,
sleeping with Biden.
I don't want to know her name. Sleeping with Biden. I'm a little bit prettier than Biden.
You are, baby. You are a little bit.
No,
bring
back the good old days.
Throw the comment over there.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, we need to get.
They're not man enough to fight now.
We got to make some changes in this country, folks. And again, I don't have a lot of answers on this, but what I do want to do is make people realize what the truth is. And I think this is the truth. I think we're in trouble. And I think if we're just walking around in rose-colored glasses, there's a lot of people that have more power, influence, a lot smarter than I am. That can look at some of these things. If I'm here for in an emergency, break glass, you can get Gary out, and then I'll shoot a bunch of stuff up, and we'll gather the troops. We'll do an assault on an objective. I'm all for all that. That's what I know how to do, and I know how to do that really well. But when it comes to manipulating a political system, that's not my forte. I'm never going to pretend.
You would never have the patience.
I don't have the patience.
You would be angry
I would never
all the
do
time.
That. Yeah, I was watching a thing today that's absolutely true. Jocko Willink was talking about, losing your temper is a weakness, right? If you lose your temper, that shows that you're just being
You've
weak.
gotten a lot stronger in that regard.
I have. I mean, the
You're
main
not
thing,
the
main thing is
feisty
that
23-year-old I met.
no, I
You've
I
come down a
definitely.
lot.
It's been a while since I punched somebody. There's no doubt about it.
You may have wanted to, but you restrained yourself. Gary would be the modern Andrew Jackson.
Oh, I don't know if I like that.
This is a good point. Did Biden basically tell illegals, "Hey, don't pay the cartel $8,000 to get smuggled in because you'll have your court date in 4 weeks"?
No.
What did he
That's
say?
not what he said.
That's what I'm
He
gathering
said
from
they're
that
paying
comment.
up to $8,000 to get in. Folks, there's nobody coming across that border from the southern side over here that isn't paying the cartels. So that's that. I saw that somewhere else too. I'm sure there are some people that sneak by the cartel or whatever else, or go by with and through a different means. But for the most part, everybody's going through the cartel, and I don't think it's $8,000 to begin with. I think it's a couple $1,000s per person. But I don't know, and I don't really care.
Depends.
But you know, it doesn't matter. The fact is that we have the Biden administration has talked out of both sides of its mouth. And not only has the Biden administration created all these incentives for illegals, while they're, I was watching a news report today that somebody was like, no, that's not what Biden and Kamala Harris has both said, do not come. But at the same time, they're saying that out loud. But the other part that they're actually pushing through NGOs, there are NGOs that are being hired by the U.S. government that are down south, not only in Mexico, but many other South American and Central and South American countries that are not only spreading the propaganda and the message, but also delivering aid down there and helping them. They're basically just like the U.S. government cartel, helping them get all the way up and telling them why they should come to the U.S.
Here's an interesting news story that ties right into what we were just talking about. It says members of a Mexican cartel shot at migrants who were taking Ubers to cross the southern border illegally, leaving one woman dead.
Yeah.
The chief of Border Patrol's Tucson sector in Arizona, John Maudlin, testified to the House Homeland Security that absolutely everyone crossing into the region has to enter with cartel permission.
Yes.
They literally gunned them down because they didn't have permission to cross.
Absolutely. Because they didn't pay them.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to pay for their protection, just like we have to pay the U.S. government for protection. Yeah. Just like you have to pay the mob for your protection. It's very similar to all the above. The U.S. cartel, the U.S. mob, whatever you want to call it. But, some other things that I did want to hit that I think are very important is, U.S. small businesses. People need to realize over the last 30 years, new business creation has declined by almost 50%.
Small business.
Small business. In 2019, and I bet if we updated the post-COVID numbers, this would be much, much worse. In 2019, 30% fewer small businesses started than in 1970. Now you go into COVID-19 and beyond that, where people's businesses and everything else were just decimated. Yeah. The COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent lockdown forced almost 1/3 of all small businesses in the United States to close down permanently.
That's sad.
And those are things, folks, when you are intentionally putting restrictions on mom and pop shops, and you're letting Walmart stay open, you're letting Home Depot stay open, you're letting Amazon still deliver, do all these other things, what the consequence of that's going to be. And that is 100% intentional. I do think the U.S. government would love to have 20, 30, a couple of hundred large multi-billion-dollar businesses that they can manage and they can
manipulate and
extort,
control,
as opposed to hundreds of, small businesses represent over 80%, I believe, something like that or more of, U.S. business in general.
You think that's still true after these statistics?
I don't know. Actually, I looked for that number and I couldn't find, everything I could find was pre-2019, to be honest with you. So I don't know what those numbers are. I don't know if they're updated. I don't know if you can find that.
And Mike
but
said
I do
that
think that
apparently
is a real
Biden
thing.
said small business being better than it's ever been.
No.
Yeah. He also said the economy was roaring back still.
Yeah.
Like,
he also said that he created 42 trillion jobs or something stupid.
Let me guess. He also said inflation was non-existent.
He didn't say it was.
I know.
He said
I'm being
it's
facetious
been lowered. you know, but we're it's, you know, the other, I mean, you look at these policies, folks, they understand. They talk about, you know, they do a lot of these things under the guise of good intentions. And that's the thing is like people constantly give these assholes a pass when they're like, oh, you know, they're just stupid people. They're good intended. No, these are smart people that are good at pretending to be good intended. And you, so that all these, so they have a way to get out of it. And because if you knew their intentions, you're like, you'd be like, you know what, you're a criminal, you are the scum of the earth, and most of these people are, because they are intentionally destroying the United States. So when they're talking about getting rid of the gasoline engine and combustion engine and fossil fuels and things like that, they know that they are intentionally pushing those policies to that will absolutely, they're already crippling America when it comes to energy. We already see that. We
And
are
now
more
they're trying to
dependent
ban
on
natural gas.
100%. They want to get rid of natural gas. They're not going to allow us to drill here. We're going to be more reliant on energy, and we are more reliant on energy from other countries. You know, there is a huge contingent of the world and even the population in the U.S. that does think that we are fundamentally evil. That does think that
I
we
agree.
need to be brought down a tick or two, just so that we realize we're not as good as we think we are. You know, people want this, and they understand the consequences of it, and they even understand that there will be millions of people that die in poverty. There will be millions of people that are dying in the winter. Elderly folks that are dying in the winter because they can't afford to heat their homes. I mean, that's a legitimate thing. They don't care. It's ideology over everything. It always has and always will be.
Apparently, Mike said, he said inflation was down to 3%.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Mike. Effing BS.
Yeah.
Just go to the grocery store.
If you look at the grocery store, if you look at
Jesus.
fuel prices, you know, all those numbers, you start looking at how they get those numbers, and those numbers constantly change.
Is this true? Haiti just emptied 4,000 prisoners out of their main prison. Guess where they're being sent?
I don't know, but you know what I
Freaking
do
it's
know is
rough in
true.
Haiti.
What I do know is true, because the Biden administration now admitted to it. Over the last couple of years, they've imported over 800,000 migrants from different countries via airplane. These are people that don't even have to cross the border. They've been secretly flying them in from other countries because they've expressed that they're coming here. So for their safety, they're just flying them into the country. And if they admit to 800,000, there's probably more like 2 million that, you know, that you're actually getting. Bubba Lawson, good talking to you today, buddy.
Yeah, Bubba, it was.
It's great talking to you. Yeah, and the 15 million jobs that he created. No, those were majority of those. We all know was majority of those. He also said he cut the deficit by like 1.5 trillion or something nonsensical like that. It's again, I actually wanted to stay away from doing that. I actually would watch like 10 minutes of it. I get so angry, I have to turn it off and go do something
Thank
else.
God I
I
was
come back
asleep.
on and I'd watch a few more. And I'm just like, oh my God. You know,
Jason said, for my safety, I need to be flown to Tahiti.
right? Yeah, legislator, my state governor. What state are you at?
Pig Roper, what state are you in? UFOs said that report came from Salty Cracker.
Salty Cracker.
No one ever fact checked all his lies.
Yeah, that was weird, huh? So weird that Democrats don't get fact checked, and then when Republicans get fact checked, then the fact checkers have to
Fact check the fact checkers.
A lot of times they won't even bother with it, even though they know it's absolutely false. But every now and then they're forced to issue a correction.
I'm with this. I didn't even watch it. I knew what he was going to say, and I couldn't bear to
First of all,
deal with it.
Someone to watch it because it interrupted
past my
Real
bedtime.
Housewives of
It was past my bedtime.
Columbus, Ohio,
It
or
was
something.
New Jersey last night. Thank you.
They need to get some Real Housewives. It'd be like some Real
Talk
Housewives.
about some crazy people. Watch those women. Jesus. They're crazy.
What else is going on out there, folks?
Pig Roper says he's in New Mexico.
Yeah. Oh,
50
yeah.
cent-
I
50
did
cent
see that. I did see that. What's your illegitimate governor's name? It's not Christian Cinema. That's who I want to say. But the chick that.
Illegitimate governor?
Yeah, because
Explain.
she. Well, first of all, she didn't campaign or anything, and somehow she beat.
Oh, I remember that now.
What is her name? It's late.
And it's Friday. We're off our game
Yep.
for sure.
Michelle.
Lawan Grisham.
is that the governor of New Mexico?
He lives there.
I'm thinking of
He would
Arizona.
probably
You're
know.
completely wrong, pig roper. No, I'm thinking of Arizona
He
anyhow.
lives there.
I'm thinking of Arizona. I think they just passed another gas tax as well. Of Arizona. Yeah, Katie Hobbs is who I was thinking about. They just passed another gas tax as well that many of the Arizonans are pretty upset about. What else we got going on? Oh yeah, she tried to also pass that
Was she the one
unconstitutional.
that tried to ban firearms
Yes.
within the city of which
Whatever
city was it?
I don't know.
Katie the commie Hobbs.
That's the one. Katie Hobgoblin. I love all. You guys are like Trump. You mean Katie the commie Hobbs? Yeah, that's her.
That was a horrible Trump,
I know.
Trump voice.
I'm not a very good Trump impersonator.
Something was going on at the shop today, and I was like, "Oh, I should mention that during the next podcast." I don't remember what it was now. Something cool though. It was actually good news, unlike the rest of tonight's podcast.
Well, I'll tell you. I have been working on since Sunday a really good video on some handguns coming up. I posted some pictures. Yeah, I think you guys are gonna like this video that's coming up. Really in depth on an entire handgun series. And it's extremely positive, and it wasn't. I didn't think it was going to be when I got those handguns. Let's talk about those new Zeiss scopes. Yeah, so we just released a video.
Hold on, this is
of
funny though.
the promotion.
Trump called Gavin Newscum. That sounds like something Trump would say.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the
we just
scopes.
released a video today on a promo that we're doing with Zeiss. So for every 20 Zeiss optics we sell, either the S3 or the S5 line, not one or the other, but combined, right? So for every 20 of those, we're giving away one free XP Long Range Academy course.
And then you can come to the XP Long Range Academy course and win another Zeiss.
And you can win another Zeiss. We'll be giving one of those away. That's Top Gun prize for our level 1s and level 2s. Which, you know, Zeiss has really been awesome. I know I've said this a couple times, but they really have, man. They've just supported us in so many different ways. And we're just glad to have them on as a sponsor. And the rest of our sponsors have been great too. But Zeiss really has, you know, being such a large company, having dealt with other companies like that in the past where, you know, they're like, oh, we'll send you something or we'll help you out in this little, then you don't hear from them. These guys, we're constantly talking to them. They're constantly following up. They're constantly helping us out. What else can we do? They're getting ready to promote that video. They're going to do some more things to help us promote the courses. Those courses are filling up. So I want to thank you guys for jumping on those courses. We're looking forward to training with you guys. Less than a month away or about a month away before that first course. So I still got a lot of stuff to do. We just got 4 new Tencent today that have, you know, the XP Academy logo on those and all our sponsors. We got a lot more work to do. There's no doubt about it. So as far as the scopes goes, if you want to know my opinion, I haven't done a full review on them, video review. I plan to. But with that being said, Ray Helms has. So if you haven't seen his review on there on X-Ring, definitely go check that out. I think all I can tell you is I think for $2,500, that Zeiss S3 6-36 is by far the best optic for the money on the planet. The quality, the clarity, the warranty that you get down to that.
Great warranty.
Basically, for the first 5 years, you can run that thing over with a truck. They'll replace it for a lifetime warranty of any material, you know, a workman defects or anything like workmanship defects or anything like that. After 5 years, they basically just don't cover stupid. If it's not working, if you have any problems, they test those things. And I don't know why they don't show this. I don't know why they don't talk more about this, but they test those things to 1,500 Gs, multiple, like hundreds of impact at 1,500 Gs. So those Zeiss S3 scopes are just are an amazing value. The S5 is a really good optic too. It is their higher end. You know, I will tell you right now that if I was going to pay $4,000, there's a couple of little design flaws in the S5. So you won't hear me and you won't hear Ray super promoting those. If you buy that scope, it is a good scope. You're getting your money's worth. There's just a couple things that I don't personally like about those. And if I was going to spend $4,000 on that, I would probably go with a different optic, probably a zero compromise or even a Night Force on that. But that Zeiss S3, either one of the S3s for sure. And there's lots of guys out there that have reached out to me and said they have Zeiss S5s and they love them. The glass in them is great. The quality is great. All that stuff is amazing.
And those are fully made in Germany. The S5s are, right?
They're fully made in Germany. They have German shot glass, the real stuff. There's lots of scopes out. Shot is a brand of glass, and something that Ray and I have talked about and kind of found out recently is, you know, a few years ago, if somebody said there was shot glass in it, you knew that was like German, like the best glass that you can find, right? The European best glass that you can find. Shot is actually producing glass in other countries now. So you can literally get shot glass that is not European, that is not good as the old stuff once was. So take this for what it's worth.
Rob said, what scope were you promoting about 3 weeks ago when you're doing the Great Prize giveaway? That was actually about 3 months ago now at the Christmas giveaway, but that was the Zeiss S3.
Yeah, Zeiss was here with us.
It does feel like 3 weeks ago, though. I agree.
Yeah, so Chuck Cooley, he's our dealer for Zeiss. He was here. I
totally surprised us.
He totally surprised us. We were, that was during Christmas.
Yeah.
That was like a couple days ago.
I just said that.
I wasn't listening. You talking, all I hear is wah, 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 wah. The S5 is mil dot. No, the S5 has a different, you may be able to get mil dot, but the S5 is not strictly mil dot.
T. says, you guys are the best. You can really tell you enjoy what you do, and thanks. I'm committed to buying all my stuff from y'all. Thanks for what you do. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We really do, folks. You know, it is such that, you know,
yes, Jason.
5-10 years ago, I did not dream that we would have been able to be doing exactly what we love and just doing this and only this full time. So, you know, you guys made this happen. Yeah, man, we're thankful. I'm thankful. You know, I love doing what we do. I never thought I would like making videos. I like making videos when I have time to do that. I like editing them. I like shooting them. I like talking to you guys. I like doing these podcasts.
I think you've grown into liking that.
Yeah, it was just so much work at first, and there was so much that I didn't know.
Really good at it now.
I'm not good at it. I'll tell you what.
He's good at it, right,
Jason, hold on. Jason brought this up today. He was like, "Oh my God, the production quality of this video from Zeiss is amazing." And I was like, "Yeah, because we had a pro do it." And that's when you realize how janky. I won't say janky. Look, our videos are good. They've gotten better. They've gotten better. I will even say they're better than most. They're not where I'd like to be, right? So, with that being said, when you see, just in the last few weeks, I've gotten to work with some good professional videographers, both down in Texas, and then Nick, who did our video for the Zeiss video. And when you see the little things that I can't even tell you what they're like, they just have a better eye, right? So I don't have the creativity, or I don't know. I definitely got better.
But you have the ability to convey the important information that people are looking for.
If you're coming to us for substance, which I hope most people are, I'm going to give you substance. If you're coming to us for details, I hope that's what you are. That's what I'm going to do. I don't want to leave details out. I don't want to make just a short video.
I don't think people that are looking for our type of video or looking for the information that they're getting out of our videos are looking for the best production quality videos.
No, they don't.
It's nice to see.
Sure.
But
I realize that.
Yeah.
No, I'm here. I need to be here. It's as simple as that. We always got to be pushing to make it better, right?
Look, video quality is very good. More importantly, the content is excellent.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Production quality of the stream
I'm not
and
too
the
hard.
channel is great.
UFOs says it's good to be a perfectionist. Don't be too hard on yourself. Look, when I first started doing this, I knew the videos were so bad that I got into a habit. The first few videos I was producing to where it was like, this is terrible. I'm not.
He'd come up and be like, I'm reshooting that.
I'm reshooting. Or there was definitely some that were just so bad that I didn't post. And then I realized I saw this cycle that I was getting into where, you know, I was letting perfection get in the way of good enough. And then I was like, you know what? You're posting the next 100 videos. I don't care if they suck. I don't care what's going on. And now, even when I'm completely not happy with a video, I'll post it. And it is strange. You know, it's a funny thing because a lot of times the videos that I think are just going to be these bangers, right? I spend all this time, money, effort into producing. And sometimes I do okay, but not to what I'm like, oh, this is it. this is it. This one's going to hit like a freaking million views in a month or something stupid. Those do okay or don't do that well. And then the ones I think suck that I almost don't, I'm like, I'm not, you know what, just do it. Just publish it.
Sorry,
Those
I'm
are the ones
laughing
that
at
do the
comments.
best.
I'm laughing at comments, but first, Jeff says, honestly, most of your videos are good. This one was kind of artsy.
It is
Well,
a
it's
little
just a
artsy.
different style. It's a different videographer.
Yeah. And it was worse than that. It was worse than that. So I will say it's worse than that. When we first got that video, it was sent to me. There was like this background music playing in the back, and for commercial work, which is what this guy does. I'm sure that's great, but I just knew from my personal taste as well as our audience that when you have all this
Get some elevator music.
that's playing in the back, it gets distracting to me, especially when you're talking about technical things. I think it's okay if you're just doing like B-roll, things like that. But no, I mean, the videography and the execution of that and the way that him and some of the guys we were working with down in Texas, it's just like, wow. Like, and it's not that much different. It's just around the edges. It's like, you know, just where to put that sprinkle of salt. Yes. And it is because my t-shirts are too tight. You're right.
Jeff said you shouldn't have posted the MOA video. That one was horrible. Of course.
I'm actually, you know what? I'm getting ready to shoot that for you, Jeff.
Get a bigger
I'm gonna
size.
take down that
Listen,
video.
Don't be hating. I like the way his arms look in those shirts.
That's right.
That's all he needs to know, right there. Gary needs to do a rap song, original rap song for a video intro.
Yeah. No. What else we got going on? What other questions, gripes, or complaints about summer do we have?
Now everybody's repeating that line.
I know.
We were somewhere the other day and like gripes and complaints about summer.
I love it.
I know.
I love it. Yeah. So, you know, folks, I don't know. Our country's in trouble. It really is. And it concerns me, man. It really does. I'm really concerned, not so much about me. I'm concerned my kids won't have the same opportunities and they're going to grow up in something and possibly even a war. And, you know, the thing is, we talk about a civil war all the time. I think there's enough weakness that is being projected by this administration and not only our current, but we've seen a progression since really Obama. Obama was a catalyst for change. Obama was where we really saw a dramatic downfall of the United States in both projecting strength and overall military strength, and where our politics just got insane. And that's if that trajectory continues, we don't have to worry about a civil war. I do think that we're going to be fighting China, Russia, Iran, and who else? I don't know, but I do think we're going to see a world war. And people are going to be landing on our shores. If not, if it may be even worse, just, you know, China's a nuclear power, Russia's a nuclear power. Maybe they just nuke the hell out of us. I don't know. What else?
And on that note,
Yeah, North Korea.
I'm gonna go
Don't forget about North Korea.
go
What?
drown myself in the bathtub on that. Jesus.
Yeah. It's deep. It's heavy. All right, folks. Well, listen, we appreciate you guys tuning in. I promise it will be a more optimistic and fun podcast on Wednesday, without a doubt. Maybe we'll even do something that's completely non-political. I do have a great video dropping probably Saturday or Sunday. Definitely no later than Sunday. Our videos usually do better for whatever reason if I drop them on Sunday. Maybe I'll drop it on Saturday and just see what happens, but it's a good one. This one's a banger. It's going to be a good one. You guys are going to like it.
Awesome.
What else we got going on?
Nothing. Just the usual.
Yeah, man. Like,
I'll wait till
subscribe,
you
throw a comment down below.
Drop the video before we start.
Make
saying
sure
anything.
you support us on Patreon. Go check out our Substack. Go sign up for courses. Go buy some gear at ParamountTactical.com. But until next time, stay armed, stay ready, and we'll talk to you soon. You better get this timing right. You failed it.
Well,
Click it.
I didn't know.
Click it.